Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess and this is Nigel. And if you're wondering where Curtis is, ask Nigel. Hey, where's Curtis? Where's Curtis? Are you gonna tell him where's Curtis? Where's Curtis? He mauled Curtis. Not really, like he pawed the leaf and like this much broke off, but I'm still upset. I'm disappointed. I thought he was better than that. I thought they had a good relationship. But obviously somebody is jealous. A damn shame. Anywho, so today I want to explain this new rereading project that I'm embarking upon. And I'm inspired because, well, I've seen like Mara from Books Like Woe do like long form series videos where she like sets out like currently to read all of Nora Roberts' books, which you go girl. And also from watching some recent my favorite books of all time videos. And so watching them, I was like, God dang it. If someone asked me right now, what are my favorite books of all time? I'd be like, do I read books? Me? I don't know. And of course I have books that are favorites, but I was really thinking about it and I could not solidify a solid list of 10 favorite books of all time. And obviously like that's not the end all be all number, but that's what I would want to put it at. So I've read books recently, and I say recently as in the last 2 years, that I have loved and I consider an all-time favorite at the moment. But then I also have books that I haven't read, you know, anywhere from past that 2 years to 10 years, whatever, or back in high school. And I'm like, I haven't read them recently enough. Can I still count them as my favorite? And you can. Obviously there's no rule, but for me, I have been wanting to reread certain books anyway, so I figured I would make this a project. I don't have a certain timeline on it. I'm assuming about a year because I don't want to pressure myself into reading any of these so that won't affect the reading experience. I want to be able to pick them up naturally when I'm feeling it. So I'm going to say about a year, but if I don't read them all in a year, then we'll just wait till I finish. And then my plan is to evaluate how I feel about all of the books that I recently reread and compare that with my list of recent favorites, and then from there try to compile my top 10 favorite books of all time. Hopefully I can narrow it down to 10. It's going to be a traumatic process, but that's my thought process anyway. So I have some books here in front of me. So like I said before, I'm considering recent reads, books I've read in the last 2 years. So these books can be that I read 3 years ago or further back from there, and they're in no particular order. I don't even think when I make the list that I could rank them. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what books I'm going to reread. Okay, also, I just want to put this out there. I've said this a few times in a couple videos that only last year did I really start reading with intention and trying to read more diversely. So these books, it's overwhelmingly a lot of beige people who wrote them, okay? I understand that, but I have a lot of newer favorites that are more diverse. So just forgive past Jessica for being trifling, and let's get on with the books. Surprisingly enough, my first one I have is The Sun Also Rises by Ernest Hemingway. Is this a classic or a modern classic? Honestly, I don't know. But this is one of the few books that I actually read in high school and enjoyed. And I've just always had fond memories of this. I don't know why. I don't even remember that much of the story. I just know some white folks go to Spain. So this was published in 1926, and it depicts a group of lively but aimless expatriates who travel across France and Spain, drinking, fishing, and going to the bullfights at Pamplona. So, again, I don't know why. I have just always remembered this story as being one of the few that I loved in high school. And I've wanted to reread it for a few years because there's like an anniversary or a special edition that came out in the last few years that I want to buy, but I was like, I need to reread it first. So I'm going to see how this goes. I don't know why I'm laughing. Like, even if it doesn't become an all-time favorite, I still want to get that new edition if I still really enjoy it. But if I don't, then I'll just let it go and I don't get that pretty book. Or I might get it. It depends. Then I have a childhood classic that I have reread a lot over my lifetime, but not recently, and that is A Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine L'Engle. I think that's how you pronounce it. So this is a quintet, the total series, but I've reread this one the most. The other ones I think I've only read once. And this, I think, is what began my love of science fiction. And so in this story, there's a family, and I think there's 3 brothers, a sister, and then their parents are really smart, like scientists, and their dad is on the brink of discovering something that can basically transport you to different universes, I'm pretty sure. I haven't read it in a while. And then he goes missing. And then his daughter and her friend are like on this mission to figure out what happened and where he went, because they don't believe like he's just gone forever. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. I haven't read this in a long time. I did recently watch that movie. I wanted to love it so bad. It looked beautiful. I didn't love the movie itself, but I've always loved this book. So I hope when I revisit it that I love it as much as I once did. It's fine. I've mentioned this a few times, but honestly, I don't think I have enough. And that is the Rya Revelations, which starts with Theft of Swords. So this is a series, 6 books by Michael J. Sullivan. They're sold in these like omnibuses though. So there's 2 books per package per book. 2 books per omnibus. So the 2 books in this one are The Crown Conspiracy and Avanpartha. I love this series. I've only read it once, and I think it was like 2017 that I read it, and I think about it all of the time. The main thing about this series are these characters, especially the main 2, Hadrian and Royce. They're a pair of thieves. They're like the most renowned, and they call themselves Rya. So people are always out to hire them to do different tasks. And in this story, they're hired to like steal the sword of like the king or something, but they're caught and then put in the dungeon. And then I think they're set for execution the next day, but somehow they get out and they basically have to prove that they weren't the ones who killed the king. And it goes from there. And not only are they amazing, they're hilarious. Like when I think epic bromance, I think of them. I know a lot of people say if you love this story to read the Gentleman Bastard series. I haven't read that one yet. I still refuse to believe there's a better bromance duo than these 2. Royce is the angry one. He will, he'll cut you. He is always going to get angry first and think second. Hadrian is more of the chivalrous one, and I want to do the right thing, and let's hear them out. Let's give them a chance. And they make such a funny pair. Like, oh my God. Cackling. And that's another thing. I love adult fantasy, but a lot of the times it's depressing or it's dark, which is fine. I love those too, but this is hilarious. And there are more serious moments. There are sad moments, but these 2 are funny. There's also other characters, like there's Myron, who's literally the sweetest cinnamon roll I have ever read in a story. And there's some really great female characters. And so I have no doubt that this is going to be in my top 10, but I really just needed an excuse to reread this year. And so in another video, I had said I wanted to reread it and listen to the audio. But the audiobooks I tried like a year or 2 ago, I didn't like the narrators. Then I was looking and I got that, was it Scribd or did I get it on Audible? Anyway, I was looking in my library through Overdrive and they have different narrators. So I think I'm going to try those audiobooks because they sound way better. And I'm like, wow, I was bamboozled. So I'm probably going to reread those through audio, but there are 6, like I said, and audio will probably be a good way to get through them over the next year. I think this is going to be in my top 10 because these are my babies. Hadrian Blackwater, my husband. Then I have The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. When did I read this? I feel like this is just outside of the 2-year range. Maybe I read it in 2017, 2018. But this is a historical fiction set in Alaska in like the 1970s, I think, because it's post-Vietnam War, so it's Alaska 1974. The main character, her father was a prisoner of war. He's come back and now he has a drinking problem and he moves the family from Washington State to Alaska, but not Anchorage. He moves them literally to like the Alaskan bush, like to the small town where it's really obviously freezing cold. There's not a lot of people. You kind of like surviving, living off the land. Like they have a house, but it's the 1970s, and so it's not completely as modern as they were living in Washington. And so this story, I remember at least half of it bawling my eyes out because they go through so much. The main character is like surviving, they're trying to survive Alaska, and not die, not freeze to death, but also surviving the abuse from her father because, like I said, he was a prisoner of war. Now he's an alcoholic, and there's just a lot of abuse that he inflicts upon his wife, upon his daughter, and it's really about the community banding together to make it through these really tough winters. And oh my God, some people said that they thought this was too dramatic, like too over the top, and I was living for it when I read it. I loved it so much, even though it broke my heart. And so we will see how I feel about this one. Then I have The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas. This is the UK edition because I bought it while I was on vacation. I have always wanted to get the US hardcover, and I just never have because I don't particularly love this edition. But I did read this 2017 probably, and I loved it when I read it. I thought that I really loved Star as a character. It was obviously very appropriate for the moment, still is very relevant. I loved her family, the family dynamic. I loved her parents, and so I hope that this is still a favorite. I don't know. I did read Angie Thomas's On the Come Up, and I didn't love that one as much. So I'm hoping that I still love this one. And I need to read Concrete Rose, which is about Star's dad when he was younger. But I'm going to get to this one. Maybe I'll read Concrete Rose and then read this. Or maybe I'll read this and then read Concrete Rose. Either way, I plan to reread this and see how I feel. And I feel like everyone knows what The Hate U Give is about, but 16-year-old Star witnesses her best friend being shot by the police because they thought he had a gun, but it was a hairbrush. And so it kind of goes from there. Her getting involved in protests, and there's like rioting and life. Then, so back to another childhood classic, and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This is one of my really beautiful Juniper books editions. I do have I guess you could call it an omnibus where it's like all 7 books in one big paperback, but I really wanted these pretty editions and my husband got them for me for Christmas. So I'm very grateful for that. So I overall really enjoy the Chronicles of Narnia. Some stories more than others, but I did like all of them at least. Like maybe the lowest one's like a 3-star, but this has always been my favorite. And I've read this alone multiple times over the span of my life, not a long time, before I read the full series. I love this. I love the movie. Okay, Mr. Tumnus, Lucy Pevensey, and essentially it's 3 kids. It's World War II. 4 kids. World War II, so they're living in London, and what happened in the story and what happened in real life is a lot of people who were living in the city sent a lot of their kids out to like the countryside or maybe even out of the country because they were experiencing so much bombing. And so these 4 get sent to the countryside to live with this like nutty old professor and his like housemaid or whatever who's really stern and mean. So they're trying to occupy their time. They're bored, there's so much you can do back in the 1940s. So they end up playing hide and seek inside this house because it's freaking huge. And one of the children discovers a wardrobe. I'm sure y'all know the story that transports them to Narnia. And I love it. I know that this whole series is like a biblical allegory and whatever. I still love it. This is my favorite. I'm sure it's still going to be on this list, but why not reread it? Whew, okay, then I have 1,000 Splendid Suns by Khalid Hosseini. Oh my God. This book triggers some memories. When did this come out? So this was published in 2007. And I read it maybe around there or maybe a year or 2 after. He's most famously known for The Kite Runner, which I also loved. I had to read that in high school. And then he has another one, The Mountain and the Mountains Echoed, which I loved also. But I remember this one being my favorite out of all of them, but also being so heartbreaking. I mean, they all are, but this one affected me the most. I know it's about like 2 women. So it's set in Afghanistan. It's a breathtaking story set against the volatile events of Afghanistan's last 30 years, the Soviet invasion to the reign of the Taliban, to post-Taliban rebuilding. And so the story is a tale of 2 generations of characters brought together by the tragic sweep of war. And I feel like it's really this story of 2 women and how their lives intersect and how they help each other. I really can't remember. I just know that I read this and I was like, emotions. So I have a strong feeling I'll still love this one. And I know he put out like a short story maybe, or like short story collection that the proceeds were going to help like refugees, but I don't think he's published anything since And the Mountains Echoed. And I would like him to write a new book. Please and thank you, sir. And last but not least, I have the Millennium Trilogy by Stieg Larsson. So that starts with the girl with the dragon tattoo. And then there's the girl who played with fire. And finally, the girl who kicked the hornet's nest. Now, I said the Millennium Trilogy because these are the original 3 that were actually written and published by the author. Unfortunately, after these were published, he passed away. So there is another author, I think his name is David Lagenkrantz, something like that, who has taken over and is writing them. I know there's at least 2 more out, and I've read one of them. It was fine. Like it generally had the same feel, but it wasn't the same. It just wasn't the same, and it makes me really sad because I loved these books. I love these characters, especially Lisbeth, and he just didn't have that same je ne sais quoi, you know? So it's really sad because apparently this was planned to be a 10-book series. So I guess he's gonna write all 10. I like want to read them and I don't. But anywho, I haven't read these since 2016, I think is when I read them, and I loved them. I don't know if I love these covers, but this is a crime fiction series, and we have our main character, Elizabeth Salander, who has not had an easy life. She has been through some shit. And then we have a journalist, and his name is Michael, and his name is Mikael. I don't know if I'm saying that right. This is set in Sweden, and so he's like a journalist trying to find like a new story. So, you know, he doesn't get in trouble. Like he needs something to make him really stand out. And she is, like I said, had a really troubled upbringing. And she also is like a super great hacker, and somehow their lives intersect with this story that is going on, and they end up working together to solve this case. And so he ends up writing that up, and she obviously is using her computer skills, and lots of things and danger and adventure and chaos ensue. But I loved Lisbeth Salander so much. Like she's been through so much, but oh my God, she's such a great character. She's such a great character. And I just remember loving the mystery in all 3 of these. I just thought the pacing, the writing, everything was so good. So I'm hoping that I still enjoy them when I reread them, which I think I will. But those are all of the books, I think. I also wanted to use this as a way to at least have 1 vlog a month, because I really want to vlog, but then I'm always like, what should I vlog? And then I tell myself I'm gonna vlog, and then I forget. Anyway, every time I read one of these, which will probably be around 1 a month, depending on how I feel, I want to vlog it and talk about my feelings. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it potential to be a top 10? And then, you know, give a brief review at the end. That's my plan. Like I said, again, probably a year. It depends on how long it takes me to get through these, because I don't want to force myself to read any of them. Don't want that to taint how I feel about them. And will other books end up in this? You know, who knows? There's no solid rules here. But these are the ones I was looking at my shelves and I thought I hadn't read in a long time and I wanted to revisit. I thought to confirm my feelings, or I just wanted to reread them. And so maybe mid-2022, you will get my top books of all time, or favorite books of all time, as of mid-2022. That sounds disgusting. 2022. Ugh. And we'll go from there. Although I don't know if I can narrow it down to 10. This is stressing me out already and I'm not even making the list. But I love rereading anyway. This is a great excuse to reread, to have kind of like a long-standing project, a video I know I need to film every month. Think it'll be great. Let me know your thoughts if you've read any of these books, especially recently. Could you right now name your top 10 favorite books? Could you? Could you really? I can't, but maybe you can. Anyway, any other thoughts or opinions you want to share in the comments, feel free. Thank you for watching this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Please subscribe. Check out my description box. I'll have all the books listed and linked, information to events that are going on around the world, ways you can help or donate, links to my social media, and ways to support my channel if you feel so inclined. But thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye! Look at your little stinking butt. Were you sleeping? Look. Oh, did I wake you up? Nigel. Hey, did I wake you up? My bad. Now I have to put all these books back. Ain't that a bitch?